Lamine Yamal. Remember that name, because the story you're about to hear is not just the story of a football player. It's the story of a boy who entered a world of giants and somehow made the giants look ordinary. At an age when most teenagers are still discovering who they want to become, Lamine Yamal was already standing under the brightest lights in football, facing defenders twice his age, playing in the biggest stadiums, representing one of the most historic clubs in the world, and carrying the hopes of an entire nation. But before the goals, before the assists, before the records, before the world knew his name, there was just a young boy with a football and a dream. A boy whose journey would take him from his childhood to La Masia, to FC Barcelona, and eventually to the biggest stage in international football. This is the story of Lamine Yamal, the boy who dared a dream and became a world champion before the world was ready. Every football legend has a beginning, and for Lamine Yamal, that beginning was far away from the enormous stadiums and global spotlight that would later define his life. Born in Spain to a family with Moroccan and Ecuadorian roots, Lamine grew up surrounded by different cultures and influences. But there was one language he understood better than any other: football. From a young age, the ball seemed to belong to him. While other children were simply playing, Lamine was already developing something different: the confidence to take on defenders, the courage to try something unexpected, and most importantly, the belief that he could create something out of nothing. Football was not simply a game for him. It was a way to express himself. And eventually, that talent began attracting attention. Because when a young player possesses something special, the right people eventually notice. And for Lamine Yamal, the next chapter of his life would begin at one of the most famous football academies in the world, La Masia. For generations, La Masia has been more than just a football academy. It has been a place where young players are taught to understand the game, not simply play it. The philosophy is built around intelligence, movement, technique, and the courage to play football with personality. And Lamine Yamal seemed perfectly suited for it. At Barcelona, he entered an environment where every day was a test. Every training session was an opportunity. Every match was a chance to prove himself. But the higher he climbed, the greater the expectations became. Lamine continued to develop. His left foot became a weapon. His close control became sharper. His ability to change direction became almost impossible to predict. And while he was still incredibly young, there was something about his game that made people believe he could go further, much further. But talent alone is never enough, because eventually, every young player has to face the biggest question of all: are you ready for the highest level? For Lamine Yamal, that moment would arrive sooner than almost anyone expected. Barcelona, a club where legends have played, a club where expectations are enormous, a club where even experienced professionals can struggle under the pressure. And then, a teenager walked onto the pitch. Lamine Yamal was no longer playing against academy players. Now, he was playing against professionals, players who had spent years building their careers, players who understood the pressure, players who knew exactly how quickly football could punish a mistake. But Lamine didn't look afraid. He looked free, and that's what made people pay attention. He wasn't simply trying to survive. He was trying to make things happen, taking on defenders, creating chances, playing with confidence, and showing a maturity that seemed almost impossible for someone so young. Suddenly, the football world had a new name to talk about: Lamine Yamal, the teenager from Barcelona, the young player who seemed completely comfortable on a stage that had overwhelmed many before him. But this was only the beginning, because the more he played, the more the expectations grew. There is a moment in every young footballer's career when people stop asking, "Who is he?" and start asking, "How good can he become?" For Lamine Yamal, that moment came quickly. His ability to receive the ball under pressure, turn, accelerate, and attack defenders made him one of the most exciting young players in football. Then came the assists, the goals, the celebrations, and with every performance, his reputation grew. But what made Lamine different wasn't simply his age. It was his mentality. He played as if he belonged, as if the biggest stadiums in the world were not intimidating, but inspiring. And suddenly, The question was no longer whether Lamine Yamal could become a star. He already was one. The question became, how far could he go? But club football was only one part of the story, because beyond Barcelona, there was another dream. The national team, Spain. Representing your country is different. The shirt carries history. The pressure is different. And millions of people are watching. For Lamine Yamal, this stage arrived incredibly early. And once again, he didn't look like someone who was simply happy to be there. He looked like someone who belonged. His performances on the international stage introduced him to an even wider audience. Fans around the world began watching. Young footballers began copying him. And suddenly, Lamine Yamal wasn't just Barcelona's young star. He was becoming one of the faces of a new generation of football. A generation that had grown up watching legends, now had a new hero to watch. And Lamine was still only at the beginning of his story. But there is another side to becoming a superstar. The side that fans don't always see. Pressure, expectations, criticism, and the constant attention of the entire world. For Lamine Yamal, this pressure arrived at an age when most people are still living a completely different life. Every performance is analyzed. Every mistake is discussed. Every goal becomes a headline. And every great game raises expectations even higher. The world doesn't simply ask young stars to perform. It asks them to repeat. Again, and again, and again. But football teaches you something very quickly. You will fail. You will lose. You'll have bad games. And you'll be criticized. The difference between a good player and a great one is often what happens next. And Lamine Yamal continues to face that challenge. Talent can open a door, but talent alone cannot keep you there. Behind every spectacular match, there are hours nobody sees. Training, recovery, discipline, learning, and the willingness to improve. Lamine Yamal's story is inspiring because it reminds us of something important. Age does not decide your potential. Your circumstances do not decide your future. And being young does not mean you have to think small. The boy who once dreamed of playing football was now playing alongside and against some of the best players in the world. But then came the biggest stage of them all, the FIFA World Cup. In 2026, Lamine Yamal was no longer simply the teenager everyone was talking about. He was now one of the faces of a Spanish team chasing football's greatest prize. On July 19th, 2026, Spain faced Argentina in the World Cup final. On one side, a Spanish team determined to create history. On the other, Argentina. And at the heart of Spain's attack was Lamine Yamal. The final was tense. Every touch mattered. Every mistake could change history. And for 90 minutes, neither team could find a breakthrough. Then came extra time. And in the 106th minute, Ferran Torres found the moment Spain had been waiting for. Goal! Spain were ahead, and they would not let the World Cup slip away. The final whistle arrived. Spain were world champions. And among the players celebrating was Lamine Yamal, the same player who had once been a young boy dreaming of playing football, was now a FIFA World Cup champion. Think about that for a moment. A boy who started with a dream was now standing on top of the football world. But Lamine's story is different from most World Cup stories, because this does not feel like the end of his journey. It feels like the beginning of something even bigger. At such a young age, he has already experienced the pressure of Barcelona, the glory of winning major trophies, the responsibility of representing Spain, and now, the greatest achievement in international football, the World Cup. Lamine Yamal is a world champion, but he is still young, still learning, still improving, still dreaming. And that is what makes his story so fascinating. Because if this is what Lamine Yamal has achieved at the beginning of his career, the question is no longer, can Lamine Yamal become a legend? The question is, how great can his legacy become? Lamine Yamal's journey is a reminder that every great story begins somewhere. Before the stadiums, there was a dream. Before the trophies, there was hard work. Before the fame, there was a boy who simply loved football. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson in his story. You don't have to wait for the world to believe in you. Sometimes, you just have to believe in yourself first. Lamine Yamal is still writing his story. And if the beginning is any indication, the world may be watching the birth of something truly special. The goals will be remembered. The assists will be replayed. The trophies will be lifted. The records will be written into history. But perhaps the most important part of Lamine Yamal's story is still waiting to be written. The boy had a dream. The dream became reality. The player became a star, and the star became a world champion. But this is only the beginning.